Hey, what's going on there, folks? Welcome back here to a Thursday. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're at out here. 10:25 a.m., that's California time. February 20th, 2025 is the date. Latest activity here on the Earthquake 3D globe shows a 3.8 here across the Puerto Rico area, and the red flag also a little 0.7 there in Southern California. A little bit of interesting activity up north here into the Canada region. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. Got Kilauea Volcano back into the eruption stage here, as noted on one of the latest webcam imageries there across the summit area of Kilauea Volcano on the big island of Hawaii. That ramping up early this morning, late last night, early this morning time period. Of course, pretty much predictable in terms of the episodes that Kilauea Volcano has been experiencing here in the last several weeks. Let's go ahead and check out the deformation data across this area of Kilauea Volcano. The eruption, right? Well, if you back out here real quick, look at the last month, each episode here, rising up to the inflation here, rising up to the eruption. That's the eruption point. Of course, depletion of magma from below. That's the during the eruption. Continuing, here's our latest one. So number 10, I believe it is, here in the last several weeks. And it's going to be probably a short-lived eruption once again. I wouldn't doubt it if we see this die off by tonight, if things follow the similar trend here. But one thing I have noticed in each episode is it takes a little bit longer leading up to an eruption. This here, the most recent one that paused on the 12th up to today's time period, seems like it lasted a little bit longer in terms of the inflation time period. So and eventually that will maybe even die off in this little episode. 10, 11, 12 episodes here will go away, and then we'll get into a new stage of eruption activity there across Kilauea Volcano, depending on what it wants to do. But either way, let's go ahead and check out the latest update here from the folks there at the USGS. This update was put out late last night here, 9 o'clock. In fact, when we were looking at the update, or when we were looking at the webcams last night here, I seen a little bit of glow, a little bit of glowing going on there across the summit area of Kilauea Volcano last night. So it looks like shortly thereafter it erupted. Seen some beautiful fountains there, up to 300 to 400 feet high. I would love to experience that. That would be an awesome view, to say the least. So yeah, episode 10 began 8:22 Hawaii time last night, and looks like I say, well, should continue for a little while, but more than likely by tonight things will die off, and then we'll get into that pause stage once again, leading up to potentially another eruption there across Kilauea Volcano a week or so from now, once it starts to pause. All right, earthquake activity. I got some interesting activity way up north into the Canada area. 4.7 earthquake striking up there this morning. It's a decent-sized earthquake. And Grand Catch, Canada area, to the northwest of Edmonton. Not 100% certain what's out here. If I remember right, this area had a couple earthquakes within the last couple of years around the oil fields up there. But they don't have the satellite option up here for now in terms of viewing the satellite imagery. I don't know if I can type this in here. I don't have my Google Earth pulled up, but I wanted to see if I can maybe use just the standard imagery here. Terrain. Well, there it is right there. Let's see what we got. Actually, it does look like, yeah, these are some oil fields out here. I believe it looks very similar to what you would see in Texas or Oklahoma. It's actually a pretty clear image here. Some holding tanks right here. These are oil pumping operations. A bunch of holding tanks. As far as waste, I don't know if they have the wastewater processes that they do as well, similar to the Texas area and the states. But yeah, this earthquake striking out here in the a massive oil field there across the area of Canada. Of course, it's no surprise, right? This area will continue to get earthquake activity as the pressure increases out here against the North American plate, similar to what we're seeing down here in Texas, although, Texas area, it's been going on for a little while. Can't remember exactly when the oil boom kicked up, but as soon as the oil boom kicked up, earthquakes kicked up. Coincidence? I think not. Well, it was a strong relationship between the two. That's a fact. These are not just fault-driven earthquakes out here. These are all related to the oil boom and fracking operations, wastewater disposal operations out here in the Permian Basin. 475 earthquakes to be exact there across Texas in the last 30 days. And again, out there in the oil fields, it's where they're at. All right, so nothing new. That will continue to increase. And I'm thinking up here in Canada, we'll see a little bit more common earthquake activity up there as well. But for now, just that's a decent earthquake, 4.7 up there. All right, for California, Northern California, pretty quiet. A couple of smaller earthquakes up in Washington here this morning outside of Yakima. The latest 2.6 up in the Cascades area. Nothing big going on for now. Cascadia subduction zone continues to sleep. They're still working on their maps. Notice that I'm only allowed to pick two options here, the ocean view or a generic U.S. topography map. Not a whole lot going on here for Northern California earthquake activity. Bay Area, San Francisco, pretty quiet. A couple smaller quakes there on the creeping segment of the San Andreas Fault. Voice still not back to normal. I'm still missing some of my voice a little bit on some of the high notes. Good thing I don't sing, right? Well, if I sing, I probably should go with the low tones instead of that high squeaky sound because I'd be messing it up today. Anyway. All right, Southern California here. Really nothing to report above 2.5 except for that area up here along the creeping segment of the San Andreas Fault, a 2.5 early this morning. Aside from that, small microquake activity out here today. A little bit of movement down south around the Laguna Woods area. Some smaller earthquake activity from yesterday, late last night time period. So just a little quiet out there. Movement stretching up into the Intermountain West areas, up through Utah and into Wyoming. Got a little bit of elevated earthquake activity up there today. Putting the squeeze out here on the North American plate. That's why we're seeing roughly about the same time that earthquake striking up in Canada as that squeeze is going on out here across the western half here of the North American plate. Almost all these earthquakes striking within minutes or a couple hours of each other, indicating the strain out here across the plate boundary. Even well inland, the plate boundaries the plates here are almost always underneath a continuous strain. Sometimes we get these little signs here of elevated squeezing, so to speak, and that's what took place this morning, including that earthquake way up north into the oil fields of Canada. Yellowstone National Park, one lonesome little earthquake out there. So let's go see what we have across the Yellowstone seismograph stations here. And, let's see. I see it already. That looks like around the Joseph's Code area maybe, right? A couple earthquakes there. Where's the USGS positioning that? They're showing that off to the northwest there of Lake Yellowstone. So really not matching up with this earthquake activity. Borehole, also Joseph Coat, picking up a couple small earthquakes there, as you can see on the seismograph station. So I guess that's a little 0.7. That would match up, right? About 4 hours or so ago. 7 o'clock? No, that's probably more than that. That's 7 hours. So who knows which one they're counting? Maybe they're counting I don't know, maybe a smaller one, but it does look like there's a little bit of earthquake activity kicking up out here around the northeastern corner of Yellowstone National Park. That earthquake movement did show up here on Parker Peak as well, but really nothing big. Those are probably some ones that the USGS have not got to yet in terms of their review status out there. The rest of the country, as noted, across from the oil fields, pretty active today, but that's typical, unfortunately. One earthquake there from yesterday in New Jersey, little 0.8. Aside from that, let's see what we got here across the volcanoes around the Greece area. One earthquake, 4.2 on the plate boundary. This is strain related out here against that area. Let's go ahead and check out the... where's my maps? There we go. The latest earthquake activity here across the Greece area, Santorini region. Make sure we got the latest data here. Of course, time period, 6 hours ago here in the kind of purple color. Notice a little swarm still going on here in the center portion. Last 24 hours is going to include the purple, red, and the orange over here. A little bit of southward migration. Some older activities further south in the last 2 days. So earthquake activity here is still continuing, although at a little bit slower rate compared to the weeks past. Now that doesn't necessarily mean anything. I don't think we're done with this activity yet. It seems like this is all for nothing. I don't believe that. If you look at the seismograph station out there, not seeing any fours out there in the last 24 hours or so. Those are the bigger earthquakes that show up on the graphs like we had seen, have been seen in the past couple weeks. But there's still a number of earthquakes out there. So we'll continue to watch it. It has not completely died off or gone away, as noted here on the map. We're still seeing probably about 100 earthquakes or so a day in that area of Santorini, Greece. Here's another viewer. Got 774 earthquakes there in the Santorini area northeastward in the swarm here in the last few days. So numbers going down, but has not gone away completely. Just a kind of a waiting game. Up around the Italy area, Campi Flegrei region, number of earthquakes up here. Got 186 earthquakes. This is in the last week. Looks like things have tapered off here in this area as well. We can even check this and verify that on the EMSC model. Run over there real quick and double check it. Make sure. Yeah, even these folks here only showing one earthquake from today. A little small 2.3. But, of course, in the last week, there was a number of earthquakes stirring up out there in that volcanic field. But things have died off there almost completely compared to, still quite active conditions here around the Santorini, Greece area. So what it all means, it's can't really predict it. Just a temporary pause, I feel. I think this will kick back up here in the days ahead. All right, let's see what else we have across the area. The Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet as far as earthquake activity goes, except for way down south here in the South Sandwich Trench early this morning for a 5.2 earthquake. Getting a little bit of movement out here across the southern areas of the globe. A lot more active than in the last couple days here. So 5.4 off the coast of Chile. That roughly about the same time period as the 5.2 over here in the South Sandwich Trench. So almost getting some broader scale adjustment roughly at about the same time. South America area got some 2s and 3s up there. This should amplify, though, with this divergent boundary activity here across the Nazca Plate and the Antarctica Plate boundary. That's an area that has a spreading seafloor center here. It's not showing it on this map, but similar to up north, there's a separation. Got these arrows separating here. That normally provides strain up against the Peru-Chile Trench where these arrows are pointing. The Nazca Plate subducting underneath the area to the east, the South America Plate. So watch the South America region here. Could see some amplification there of earthquakes soon. Middle America Trench, a lot of older activity from yesterday. See what we got going on in Puerto Rico. A couple earthquakes out there, a little swarm going on, but really nothing of any abnormal activity. It's actually quite common to see swarms out here. Last 30 days of earthquake activity, 181 earthquakes, a little bit of movement up here around the Puerto Rico Trench as well. You can see that trench zone a little bit more prominent on the ocean map. I do like this feature. You can see some of the deeper trenches out there. Let's see. A little swarming going on around Japan, it looks like, from yesterday and today. The latest, a 4.5 underneath this area of Japan, 20 miles deep there. Some super deep activity yesterday. Over here around the Sivask region. That well, no, that's way up north here. This is going to be just on the western side here of Japan. But that's deep, super deep here. Probably trying to think that may be associated here with the Nankai Trough. Subduction zone of the Japan Trench sits up here. So still keep an eye on the Nankai Trough area. That's definitely overdue here for some larger earthquake activity. Pretty good clustering going on across the Indonesia Islands area. Typical day in that region. That's the crunch zone, I call it, because we're almost always seeing earthquake activity there on any given day. Nothing big happening, just a number of earthquakes. A little bit more active here across the Fiji area and the Vanuatu region with some fours. But these earthquakes in general are fairly deep as well. So that should amplify some surface conditions out here for larger activity. New Zealand, some older activity from yesterday. A little swarming up there in Alaska. A couple threes stirring up here along the Aleutian Trench. Nothing big. But yeah, it's definitely a noticeable uptick here across the west coast. And again, that's almost happening all at once earlier this morning. Number of earthquakes out in Nevada as well. From 3 to 9 o'clock in the morning, couple threes out here spread out. There's a lot of pressure out here applied against the west coast here, folks. And it's times like these when we watch for these inland earthquakes of elevated earthquake activity. It's, could see some larger activity out here at any given time along the California region, or potentially anywhere that's overdue for some larger movement. A number of areas out here in Southern California are primed for some earthquake activity. All right, let's see what else we got across the globe area. Yeah, there's not... I don't think we've had any large... When was our last big earthquake out here? 7 days ago. Got a 6-pointer back on the 14th, so that's a decent time period here. That was that 6-pointer out in Ethiopia. That has since gone absolutely quiet. That's a rift boundary that's had a number of large earthquakes out there with really no effect, no subsequent activity, so to speak. No eruption, no big quake. It was just a series of earthquakes. Go double check that seismograph station there, see what it looks like in the Ethiopia region. Pretty quiet, not a whole lot of earthquake activity happening out there. It's a generic digital version, but still it will show earthquake activity. Maybe a couple smaller ones, but it's nothing of any abnormal activity. Checking out space weather. Pretty quiet conditions prevailing on the sun. Not for sure where... I've seen a couple YouTube videos floating around today. Massive changes on the sun. Hell, the only massive change I could see is a change to quiet period. There is no unusual activity aside from it being very boring out here in terms of the flaring. Very low-grade C-flare activity here in the last several days. I mean, the sunspots out here are, there's a number of them, but these are this very weak. No magnetic complexity with any of these. And even this area out here on the northeastern quadrant of the sun, just peeking around the limb there, I should say, not all that impressed with. There's a little bit of bright features above that sunspot area, but nothing that would tell me that that we need to look out here in the coming days for some stronger flaring. That's just... looks like another wimpy sunspot out here. So nothing major going on in the sun. No unusual activity. Nothing to even make news where the article's about. These folks showing a 10% chance for the X flare. I got mine set at 1%. M flare at 40% chance for... well, that's the X flare. M flare at 40. Might see a low-grade inflare, but really not expecting much here, folks. No major auroras in the forecast. So it is just dead quiet out here on the sun for now. Looks like they got the far side watch going. I haven't checked this in a number of days because of, well, actually it's been a number of weeks ever since it went offline back in November. But it looks like finally we got it back up and running. I like this model because you can see the Earth-facing side of the sun here in the sunspots and what's coming around on the far side. This is the far side area. This is going to be the western limb, so all these sunspots moving off in this direction, and then it rotates behind the sun, comes up back to the eastern limb here. That one area I was telling you about, the newer region, yeah, it does not look like much here, but further back, there's another active area. It looks like center disk on the far side of the sun that looks like it got some large coverage area. That was just out here about 2 weeks ago, throwing off some M flares, but we'll see what it looks like as it comes back around the bend. You know, a number of these sunspots have been cycled through many, many times. They're the same sunspots that go around multiple times that get renamed. And, I don't see anything new popping up, any new areas of concern. It's just very quiet out there. We'll see if this other area remains active once it gets over here on the eastern limb. See, it's got to just barely see it. It's got a few days here. Well, this is from yesterday, so it's got a number of days before we'll get a little glimpse at it, see what it has in store. But I'm glad this is up. I do like using the far side watch. It's a pretty neat little feature to see what may be in store for the flaring. Let's see. This was put out a number of days ago. Really, yeah, like I say, there's really not a whole lot going on on the sun. Crazy solar maximum, but I think we're supposed to peak out this year, right? Sometime in June, July of this year, it's supposed to be solar maximum. Maybe we're done. Maybe that was it. Now we're going back downhill in the solar minimum. Guess we'll see what happens here. Storm Prediction Center. Wow, not a whole lot of activity either. I know we got some cold air out there across the majority of the country. Everywhere but California. It's supposed to be almost around 70 degrees today, so I guess we'll take it. I mean, I don't mind the sun, but it's still technically winter out here. Quick glance at the weather out here. Look at these temperatures as of right now. It's 11 o'clock out here just about on the West Coast, so we're looking at 1 o'clock Central Time here. -1 across Kansas and Nebraska. Even down in Oklahoma. Look at Oklahoma City, 12 degrees for an afternoon high. What is up with that? That's crazy cold. So a lot of cold air out there, folks. I'm sure you folks, a majority, you probably would want the warmer weather, but hey, I think it's coming. You guys got a little warm up coming up here. Go ahead and check out the extended model runs here. Not a whole lot of moisture associated with that cold air coming down from the north, but anything that does fall will obviously be snow. West Coast, not a whole lot coming in for precipitation, unfortunately. Maybe a little storm system, it looks like, as we enter into March. But I don't know. Let's take a look here at the Climate Prediction Center, see what we have for the extended model runs. 6 to 10 day outlook. Look at that. That's not good for the West Coast. Below normal precipitation and above average temperatures. I think we're going to be in the low to mid 70s coming up here this weekend and next week. I mean, that's not bad, right? But I appreciate the time that we're given of cooler and wetter weather. And February should still be a wet month for us here in the West Coast. But I guess we'll take a couple 70-degree days. The kids like it. So that's a 6 to 10 day outlook. The 8 to 14 day outlook here shows roughly about the same for California. Below normal precipitation and above normal temperatures. Boo. Weeks 3 to 4. Of course, this was put out. That was issued back in, it was about a week ago. We'll see if that plays out. It'd be nice to get back in the rain here for California. Anyway, folks, pretty busy day ahead for me, but I am going to get outside, enjoy some of this rain or some of the sun. It's definitely good to get outside, get some sun here. The plants and everything. Actually, all the fruit trees I have here are starting to bloom. My peach trees are popping out some beautiful pink flowers, blossoms, I should say. So I guess spring is in the air, so to speak, at least here in California right now. All right, I think that's about it, folks. We'll just keep an eye on things. It's just been a day of scattered earthquake activity. A lot of signs of pressurization out here against the West Coast. Even though we may not see it directly on the plate boundary here, the signs are showing inland on the North American plate. And so keep an eye there on California. South America area should amplify as well, considering the earthquakes on each side of the South America region. And Greece area, just gotta wait and see what happens here, right? Could just eventually go away completely, but man, I'm telling you, we had the numbers have to be up around the 13 to 14,000 range in terms of earthquakes out there around the Santorini, Greece area in the last few weeks. Unprecedented earthquake swarm with no main effect, no in result, so to speak. Just a huge amount of earthquake activity, which I still believe is a magma intrusion, but we'll continue to keep an eye on it, see how this plays out. In the meantime, folks, have yourself a wonderful day. Seismograph stations out there. One earthquake on Petrolia, also one down south in Southern California, roughly about the same time. But these are very small earthquakes, probably not even showing up on the USGS model. Maybe this one, 1.5, but up north here, nothing showing up for the Petrolia station that sits inland. That earthquake from last night. All right, folks, have a good day. Enjoy your Thursday. We'll catch you guys out here a little bit later on this evening for the Thursday night update. Stay safe out there.